Hi, this is Tina of Via Feng Shui Training and Mentoring. Today, we're going to talk about the Chinese zodiac animals. Zodiac animals are a key component in Feng Shui, believe it or not, because as we go through the training or we look into the Chinese astrology part of it, those animals are present. They're present in a big way. And they're also a part of the flying stars Feng Shui. So we want to look at what animals are in somebody's personal Chinese astrology chart, their 4-pillar or Bazi chart. We want to know what animals they have. We look at those animals, the characteristics of them, the behaviors of them, the traits of them, to get to understand our client better and for them to understand themselves, their family members better, their team members and their business better. And then when we fly the stars and start walking through the space, whether it's their home or their business, then we can say, aha, you have dragon energy in your chart. The dragon lives in the southeast corner. So we want to make sure that that southeast corner is a supportive environment, not only for their dragon, but for their abundance, for the overall well harmony of their home, life, business, family, whatever. But these animals, they teach us so much. You know, the indigenous people have been studying animal behavior from the very beginning. They use them as power animals, spirit animals, totem animals to represent, this guy in that part of the village, he is sly like the fox. Or, this woman over here, she's got the tongue of a snake. So there's different vocabulary that we've picked up through the generations that are used to describe animal traits and characteristics. And we can easily kind of we can call it labeling, but it's like this kind of helps us understand who this person is. If you have someone who's a horse energy, they're more free-spirited, don't fence me in kind of energy, versus someone who has an ox energy, which is a little more grounded and will kind of toe the line. That's important information to know as you're getting to know your client, and as that way you know how to help them. You know what kind of recommendations to make, how to assist them in their space. So today we're going to go over those 12 animals. Now, there's a lot of animals in the world, obviously, but there was just 12 that were selected for this zodiac wheel, and it was many, many moons ago that these animals were selected. And the folklore is that there was an emperor that decided to hold this great celestial race. And he called upon all the animals in the kingdom to be a part of this race. And whoever placed first, the first 12, got a position on his this celestial representation of this time-space reality that we're in. And so the first 12 that cross the finish line are the 12 that have that place there. So you're going to see that it's pretty versatile and it's pretty comprehensive in a way that it kind of, pretty much, since I've been doing this and the people that I've met, they all kind of fit in those kind of categories or, characteristics. They kind of fit that trait. And so we're going to learn a lot about the animals. I'm going to highlight some things here, kind of go over some basics. I want you to take notes on the PDFs that you have. And then be thinking about, as I go through these, how are these animals, what is their behavior like in their natural environment? I want you to think in pictures, kind of like we did the elements. So think it's like, what is this animal usually doing? Like whether you've seen it in real life or not, or you've seen it on Nat Geo, or, PBS, or, Disney or something, or seen it even at the zoo, right? Because animals have distinct behaviors. Their behaviors are not influenced by this sentient consciousness that humans have, right? So animals aren't asking questions about life. They're living purely off of instinct, survival, just wanting to live, procreate, keep the species alive, that kind of thing. So there's no judgment in the animal kingdom. There's no anger and why did you do that? And well, I'm going to move to this other land. They do it instinctually, right? They're looking for food. That's why they travel and move about the land or migrate in the sky. So it's intriguing to watch these animals and to understand them, that there's that judgment piece is gone, and that leaves that part out of it, that we can just be really objective and look at these traits here. So think in pictures, think about your own experience with these animals, what you've seen, the behavior, and even as I'm going along, think about people that, oh, that sounds like my dad, or that sounds like my boss. Think about people that you might think that kind of fit that, because that's what we're doing here, is we're kind of telling a story about certain behaviors or reactions, emotional, physical, even the way somebody looks physical. We're looking for all of that kind of stuff as we get to know our clients. So let's get started. I'm going to share with you the animal, some characteristics, and we're going to move through this, and then we'll discuss more of this when we see each other in person. So the first animal on the Zodiac wheel is the rat. Okay, so the rat, he was probably not even going to place in the top 12, of the race. But the rat had a better idea, because the rat is about working smarter, not harder. So that's where that clever kind of quality and the sneakiness of the rat comes in, that reputation that he has, is because he did see the ox. The ox was full bore. All his muscle and power was into winning this race. The ox is the leader. He's going to lead the pack. So the rat saw an opportunity and thought, aha. So he jumped on the back of the ox, and as the ox was just about to cross the finish line, the rat leapt off and he crossed first. That's why he's first on the Zodiac wheel, because he was the winner, the sneaky winner of this race. So that's where the reputation of the rat comes in. The rat is that nocturnal creature, right? He's a little bit more vulnerable than most animals. Well, a lot more vulnerable, right? He's on the low end of the food chain. So he has to think smarter. He's the intellect. He has to find his way out of, situations. So the rat can come across as a bit sneaky or a bit manipulative or conniving when it comes to that kind of energy. Sneaky like a rat. We've heard those kinds of sayings before. But rats are very, very smart. And, scientists use rats, right, to find their way and to test things on them, to see what the capabilities are and how they can use what they're learning from the rat and their reactions to things to enhance our lives overall. Not to be political and get into all of that by any means. But the rat is very enthusiastic. He's just full of energy, right? It's lots of energy contained into this little body. So you can think about, as you're visioning this, it's like rat, hamster, mouse, all those little animals that, really are about survival and kind of staying clear of danger. So that's why they're nocturnal, right? So that then when they come out, they're not seen. So rat energy is about nighttime. It is more about the little busy work rather than big, bold actions, right? The rat is not going to take a big, bold action because it's going to take him more time to even just run from here to there. Very creative minded, and they're a water animal. And they sit in the north. And so when we look at the compass, we're going to see that animal sitting in the north sector, and that is the water sector. And so that's even more about the depth, that deep underwater. It's like the unknown in the darkness at nighttime, where the rat really thrives, right? It's when it's really at its busiest. So the rat is very familial. They like that sense of community and family close by. I don't know if you've ever had a rat pet. They're probably one of the sweetest, gentlest, kindest, tenderest social creatures at night and with their own kind. So we look at the rat as being the starter, right? He's the one that's going to come up with the ideas because look what he did. He won the race. So he's the initiator of ideas. So if you need something to get done in a team, or in the, like as a project, you need a rat person, someone who's going to come up with some ideas and really get the ball rolling. Because if you don't have somebody that can start something, then you kind of spend a lot of time sitting around brainstorming, waiting for something to kick in. So that beginner energy is really good energy to get things going. Even the year or a project or a relationship, that kind of energy. The second animal, of course, then is the ox. So the rat and the ox are secret friends. The rat will forever be indebted to the ox and will do anything for the ox. So there's that kinship there that sits with the rat and the ox, two quite extreme different animals. The ox, how it's different than the rat is, it's so much bigger, has such a bigger presence. It's more grounded. The ox is a very, earthy, grounded animal that is stubborn, right? Can't budge me. We've all come across that herd of cows right in the road that you have to sit there and wait for them. No matter how much you honk or moo at them or whatever, they're stubborn and they're going to do it on their time. So life moves at a different pace in an oxen person. It moves at their pace. You can't hurry them along to hurry up and get stuff done or hurry up and get this garbage out or whatever. It's going to happen on their timing. So that stubbornness, that's a bit much for people, especially people who want things quicker, like a rat maybe. But the oxen also has that leader mentality, right? He is leading the pack because he's the strong one. He's going to carry the load, right? And we picture oxen and how we've used them over the years through husbandry to help us farm and assist our own lives, whether they're pulling a wagon or a plow. They really do, because of their size and their ability and their perseverance and strength, they can really just kind of pull any kind of load that you put on them. So we want to look at even our clients, like, what kind of burden are you carrying? Are you carrying too much weight in this business, or too much, are you towing the line for these people and you need to let them go? So that's kind of how we look at these animals, is we explain their characteristics and then we apply it how it could show up in somebody's life. And you can see how it can be quite profound in how that can happen. The ox is very courageous, very practical, very traditional. They're a hard worker. Like I said, they'll put their head down and get it done. They prefer to work alone. You can put that yoke on two oxen and they have to be going in the same direction. If one decides at some point, I think we should try this instead, the other oxen's going to be like, hey man, we made an agreement, we were going to go down this road, and I'm going to have to cut you loose because I don't agree with that. Once the ox got his mind stuck on something, it's there, and he is going to dig his way through that. Oftentimes with an ox, it's a bit challenging when, they do have that tendency to kind of get in that rut. You think of that ox plowing that same field year after year, and that the ruts get deeper and deeper and deeper. And it can be a bit tough for them to get unstuck and to move past certain behaviors or relationships or things that come up. They just have a tendency to kind of settle in. So that's the characteristics of the ox. Now, I'm just going to back up for a second. I want to talk about the health of each of the animals. For the most part, the rat is going to be healthy as long as it has a balance in life and can be active so that it can relieve that extra stress and anxiety. Because it's, we think of the hamster spinning on the wheel. That's good energy for them to be expelling that pent-up energy, that little body and that brain, to contain all of the thinking and the ongoings of the rat and that energy of it being so busy. It needs some place to go, and if it doesn't, if it's living a stagnant life, the stress is gonna build up and manifest, physically. With the ox, on the other hand, very long life. They're pretty healthy throughout life, but what's really going to take a toll is their body, their bones, their joints, their knees. You can pretty much guarantee you meet an ox person, you say, how are your knees? They're going to go, oh my gosh, how did you know? It's because they carry that burden. It's because they're walking huge lengths, through their life to get through something. So there's the oxen. The next animal on the zodiac wheel is the tiger. The tiger is, much more of an action-oriented animal. It's much more assertive, much more aggressive, and it really kind of sees the world in I'm in or I'm out. There's really no middle ground for a tiger. The tiger, if we even think about, okay, we're walking through the jungle, where's the tiger? Well, he's pretty elusive, and he's not really you're not gonna see him, and he's not traveling in a pack or a herd or a pride. He's pretty independent, and so he's going to be camouflaged, laying up in a tree where it's nice and cool, not a lot of energy spent. The only time that the tiger really, feels like it needs to invest that energy that it's been storing up is, right, to eat or perhaps to mate. So that tiger, when it comes time to eat, it's going to expel all of its energy into that hunt, the kill, and then it will gorge itself, and then it's going to retreat again. So you can see how it's kind of all, I'm not really into it. It's a rabbit. I don't really want to put all my energy into chasing this rabbit across this open plain because the reward isn't that great, really, right? Versus, I can hang out and wait longer for the right time to get, a baby bison or a gazelle or something. And then I can put all of my energy, because there's something about the energy of like the big reward for the tiger. And so that tiger energy is about conquering, it's about authority. So it's a very assertive kind of energy. There is a sense of luxury too about the tiger. It does kind of command that aura about it, because we even think about the kings and back in, way back, how the big cat animals were seen as luxury, whether you had them as pets or you used their pelts. It does kind of create that sense of high-end luxury. So that tiger energy is a wood animal. It's a wood, yawn wood energy. And so it's very active, or very still, like a still oak tree. But then you got the activity of, the wind and what's blowing in it. The next animal is the rabbit. So the rabbit energy is also a wood energy, but it's a yin wood energy, and it's active, like flowers popping up and seeds germinating and pollinating and all of that kind of stuff. So it's also a very busy kind of animal, like the rat, because it's kind of on the lower end of the food chain. It's like, I got to come out, hurry up, forage, get what I need to for my family, hurry up, dig a place to hide, and be able to flee the scene quickly, to get out of danger quickly. The rabbit does not like confrontation. It doesn't like that sense of, stepping in and having to defend myself or stand up for myself. It's always going to be a little bit more cautious. It would rather just kind of go hide, wait for the storm, the fight, the argument, the conflict, whatever, to kind of roll by, and then peek its head out again when it's safe to come out. So it's known as the diplomat. But the rabbit too is also very familial and is the creator, right? It's that yin wood energy. We all know rabbits like to make babies. They have tons of baby rabbits in their litters. They're very compassionate and very sensitive, not only to touch with that soft, downy rabbit fur, but also because of their keen sense of survival. What does that sound? Or, even being underground and sensing certain vibrations to know what's a friend or a foe, that kind of energy. So the rabbit is about new life, and it's about family and tenderness and sweetness and cuteness. Of course, the rabbit will defend itself. It will defend its family if it has to, and it can get ugly. If you've ever seen a rabbit on TV, I've seen videos like rabbits even defend themselves against like a cobra snake. It gets ugly, and just like any animal, out of pure instinct of survival, it will defend itself. But the rabbit always opts to step out. always opts for caution. So a rabbit person will hesitate to speak up. Okay, so if we want to look at where that rabbit is in their chart, if it's in their emotion pillar, they want somebody there to comfort them, but they're not necessarily going to speak up about it and tell people that they need somebody. Health-wise, yeah, the rabbit, that anxiety, that sense of shock, that kind of stuff is just going to stress them out. And then that stress, that anxiety will manifest physically if it's not addressed, if that person's not given the skills on how to deal with that kind of stuff. And exercise and eating healthy, because that rabbit is about eating, the good healthy diet. It's not like eating the raw meat like a tiger is. It's wanting life food in it. And so that rabbit person, if that rabbit's in their health pillar, that's what they're going to need to help balance their physical health out. Now the next animal is the dragon. I really kind of like the dragon energy. The dragon is an earth animal, and it's the only animal on the Chinese zodiac wheel that does not have a physical manifestation, meaning it's not a real creature, right? We're not talking like a bearded dragon or Komodo dragon, anything like that. We're talking about a mythical creature, a dragon that lives outside of the realms, outside of the confines of humanity. They don't really want to follow the law. The law doesn't apply to them. Not in like, I want to break the rules kind of thing, but it's like they're the ones that are going to push the buttons and question authority, whether it's the parent or the boss or the system, whatever it is, because they see the drama of it, they see the silliness of it, and they're really not going to buy into it. So the snake, because of his magical abilities, he can really travel wherever he wants, and has a sense of this free spirit that he can do whatever he wants. And oftentimes the dragon is, has the reputation of being the narcissist, but he's just not buying into the crap, right? He's not buying into the drama that we as humans kind of conjure up for ourselves. And so he comes across as being selfish, and that's because he's misunderstood. The dragon sits alongside the snake, and they both sit in that house of spirituality. And so when you see dragon and snake in somebody's chart, that's the first clue that there's some inner wisdom with that person, whether it's a child or the parent or whatever. There's some innateness in there. There's some, whether it's psychic ability or clairvoyance, clairsentient, whatever it is, there's some ability there in that that they know more. They know more than, say a rat would. Not that all animals aren't instinctual and have, a sense of things at their own level, but because that dragon has got that magical ability to fly to the heights of the heavens or the depths of the seas, or hey, I'm going to be a fire-breathing dragon, they're a little bit different, right? So for instance, sometimes when I see dragon, when I see it in their emotion pillar, there's a lot of traveling when somebody's sleeping, when they have that dragon there. And so I would even question them about how do they sleep? Is it hard for them to wake up, like to come back? So I do find it intriguing that the dragon is an earth animal. And I see that as, it's like, okay, remember you're here. Remember, even though you're this free spirit and you've got these, you can connect with these other realms, or you've got these great grandiose ideas, remember to come back to earth once in a while because you have family or responsibilities or whatever it might be. So he's very extroverted, and he's actually the luckiest animal on the zodiac wheel. That's why the Chinese use the dragon as, that lucky symbol. The dragon coin, the lucky dragon, the dragon that dances on the Chinese New Year. So it's the luckiest financially. And it actually does sit in the southeast corner, which is the abundance corner of the space. The next animal is a fire animal, and it's a snake. So you see they sit right next to each other. Now the snake is similar to the dragon energy in its sensitivity, but it doesn't have the legs, it doesn't have the wings, it doesn't have that ability to transcend our earthly reality. but my gosh, is it sensitive. If we think of that snake that it's, lying on the ground, and it is so in tune with its environment, every little vibration, it feels an ant crawling, it feels, a person walking down a path, it feels the temperature change. It is so keen and aware of what's going on, and of course, depending on what pillar it's in. Oh, quickly, the dragon, as far as his health, the dragon burns the candle at both ends. There's not enough time in a day for the dragon. They just want to get so much done, and there's just never enough time. And if the dragon is in their health pillar, they're pretty darn healthy. And the only thing I would advise a dragon is we got to watch the years that are coming up. Like a dog is going to hit a dragon, can hit a dragon harder. It's just to make sure that they're balancing life. Because of that, because a dragon lives kind of out here and here at the same time, one of the best things for dragon's health is like Tai Chi or Qigong or some kind of martial arts, where it's a moving meditation where they're able to bridge heaven and earth and bring those two modalities together. So they're working their physical body along with this kind of escapism and connection that they're having up here. So that's really good for that magician, the dragon. So the snake now is more the mystic, right? He's more like, we even think of the Indian guy playing the flute, and he's hypnotizing the cobra. It is that kind of, hypnosis kind of energy. So the snake can come across as manipulative, right? It kind of, can sway or can fake you out and can be sneaky. The snake is very much about transformation, right? It's shedding, it's moving on. It's not so much that it has the same place that it migrates to, every year. It's constantly on this slow journey. And when it does shed that skin, it releases what no longer serves it. It's like, well, this skin is, I've grown. I had a good year and I was able to eat more. Or expand my beliefs or my awareness more. And so the snake has grown now, and it needs to shed that skin. It's not going to go and mourn the loss of that skin that's laying back there on the rock. It's going to keep moving forward. The thing that I've learned mostly about the snake in talking with people who have snake energy, and then witnessing snake energy myself because of my son having snakes, exotic snakes, is that the snake people, because they're fire energy, typically want things quickly, right? Because fire is quick. Oh my gosh, now it's out of control. So they have this need to, it's like, well, why can't this just happen? I can just do this like this. Because they're kind of that alchemist energy, right? Fire is that alchemy energy that's constantly changing things. You'll recognize snake people because they care about their look, and sometimes you see them change clothes a couple times a day. They're changing their wardrobe or their hair. They're much about change. But in watching snakes in their own natural setting, when they go into that period of transition, to shed, everything goes still. The heat goes off, the lights go off. There's no touching the snake. There is no feeding the snake. And sometimes it takes a few days. Sometimes it takes weeks for all that shed to finally come off. And we don't want to go in and like force things to happen. We go, if my son were to go in and start forcing a shed from one of his snakes, he's going to injure that snake by scarring it, by peeling, come on, let's get this dead skin off. We don't want to hurry things, because a lot of times when we push things too quickly, it causes more pain rather than if we just allow it to happen naturally. And it's like, wow, that I was just able to ease right into that. So that's a bit of a challenge for the snake. The other challenge for the snake is they need to think about how you're going to say things, how you're going to word them. Because oftentimes the snake kind of gets, they kind of stick their foot in their mouth because they can be a bit catty or a bit aggressive with their languaging. And it just, when a snake strikes, it's going to strike quick and hard, and some snakes are venomous, and it's really going to sting and leave a lasting impression. And that, depending on what pillar that's in, if that's in your year pillar, that potentially you will distance people from you because it's, you can't get close to a snake, right? So that's something to be aware of if you have a client that has that and they're having communication issues, whatever it might be. That snake, as wise as they are, they just need to slow down and think and not react so quickly. Give everybody time to catch up to where they're at. So the next, and the snake, is a pretty healthy creature as long as it's not overly stressed. It doesn't like, surprises and like disco lights and music and stuff. That's just a little too, that's like information overload for the snake. They just want things to be a little more quiet, a little more easygoing, and less chaotic. So on to the horse. The horse is our other fire animal, and he's very much like fire energy, right? Kind of spontaneous, has a mind of its own, very free-spirited, unpredictable a little bit because of that, because we don't really understand a horse. They just seem approachable and they seem like they would be our friends because we've kind of forced them to be our friends the way we've kind of, broken their spirits and used them to help us travel and whatnot, work on a farm or whatnot. But the horse definitely is an independent creature. Its motto is don't fence me in. Don't give me parameters. Don't tell me how to do things. They're going to do things in their way. And there's a bit of a stubbornness, not as much as the ox, because the ox is really stationary and grounded on all fours, that big presence. But the horse, if it doesn't like the direction things are going, it's just going to go, right? It's just going to walk away or run away. So that's something else to keep in mind. That if you see a horse in like the emotion pillar, sometimes the horse there in that emotion pillar, that person's not necessarily going to stick around during an argument or during a confrontation. It's like, I'm out of here. Things aren't going their way. The horse always comes back to their herd. It always reconnects because there's, at heart, they do like that herd mentality, but they're independent and they're going to take off and do things their own way. It takes a lot to get close to a horse. They're a bit intimidating to us when you're not a horse, but even the horse, you really they have to trust you. They have to know that you're coming from a good place. We see, some of these really great horsemen, ship people that work with horses. And I'll tell you what, those horses would not be doing, jumping over walls or running barrels, that kind of stuff, or doing, the horse shows if they didn't have a mutual respect and trust with their trainer and their rider. It just wouldn't happen. A horse would just stop and drop you, and that's the day. That's just the mentality of a horse. But they're very strong opinion, they're very ambitious, and it is that fire energy. As far as a horse's health goes, they need to be active. If you have a child horse, that child needs space to run wild and be free. They need space to be, for their imagination to expand. They need to be able to, be outside jumping on a tramp or running, riding a bike. They don't need to be boxed into like a tiny apartment or a preschool that doesn't have, a playground to play on. They need space. They need outdoor space for them to really thrive and be happy. But for the most part, they're really, really healthy. Now the next animal, another herd animal, is the sheep. Now there's a little bit of a play here in the sheep characteristics because we have the real docile, really feminine, nurturing aspect of the sheep that, is sensitive to the whole, wants what's best for everybody, wants to follow, right? Because the sheep tend to be led. They have the sheep herder, or they have the pastor, or they have the teacher, or the elder, and the sheep will congregate, and then they'll follow, wherever. Oh, okay, and then this is what we're going to do. So there's that part of the sheep that has that sensitivity for the whole and that compassion. But then the sheep energy is also represented with the goat and the ram. Now the goat and the ram, they're much more about taking a risk, shimming up the side of a mountain and hopping over. I mean, we see so many, little baby goat images on Facebook or social media these days, they're so rambunctious. They're button heads and they're climbing. That is a different side of the goat, the one that's not so much about playing it safe, not so much about feeling vulnerable. So we have those two expressions, or it's the black sheep, right? The one that kind of stands out of the herd that wants to take a different route. So along with that following mentality of the sheep or that herd, a sheep, because they're more of a follower and less of the leader, which would be like an ox, he's more of that leader, confident in the steps he's going to take. The sheep is going to be sensitive to what's going on, and so it's going to be difficult for them to make decisions. It's like, well, which way are we going here? And they're going to kind of yield to whoever's, whether it's a hierarchical kind of thing or someone who's leading the group, they're going to go in that direction. So we know a sheep can be led to greener pastures, right? That's the mission of a sheep. In fact, a sheep, they like to vacation where there's a beach. They love the water. A sheep is always going to seek out water. But the sheep can just as easily be led to slaughter. You could have, a congregation or a group that has a really good purpose that can be led to greater things. It's the compassion of the group energy that's come together of the sheep that allows us to move, into greater awareness. But then you get someone like maybe David Koresh or someone who's leading a march or a rally. And that can easily, if there's not really good intention, that can easily stray the followers, the people who are congregating or meeting or rallying together, to go off course. Their message gets lost. And we're seeing that on the news really quite a bit, because we've all got voices, but we don't feel like our voice is strong enough. So then we come together so we have a greater voice, but then we always default to one or a couple people to have the main voice for that group. And gosh, if we don't know exactly where that person's going, it's going to take us off track. As far as the health goes, the sheep, it's stress. It's their stomach. It's going to have stomach issues. So they've got to, they just don't, because of that indecisiveness and, hemming and hawing about which way to go, that sits in the gut, and that's going to cause disturbances for them as far as their health. But overall, they're the peacemaker, they're the sensitive one, simple pleasures, mothering, that kind of energy. And they're an earth animal. The next animal is a monkey. Now, we're pretty familiar with the monkey. That was a year last year, was the monkey year last year. The monkey, he's the entertainer of the group. He's very playful, very curious. Think of like Curious George. And, like they're good with their hands, and they're trying to figure things out and how to open nuts or how to, fish or whatever it is. They're very good at watching someone, whether it's a zookeeper or another, part of their group, do something, then they can mimic that. And that's even where that monkey see, monkey do languaging comes from. And so the monkey, in all their goofiness and playfulness, and they really have a sense of detachment. It doesn't mean that they are necessarily lack compassion, but they lack empathy. The monkey is because he can be right here and playful, and then he's like, boom, I'm out of here. He's into the other tree, or he's off to something else because he's been distracted a little bit. So it's hard for the monkey to put themselves in other people's shoes, to empathize. It's, oh, I understand where they're coming from. So that makes them a little hard-headed about stuff, a little more confrontational. And yeah, we know a monkey can get, really riled up and can get really ugly and vicious and deadly, depending on the size. Because, that's another animal that we've got a huge array of types, personality types. We've got the cute little munchin monkeys, the gold tamarins, all the way up to these big beasts of gorillas, these silverbacks and everything in between. And some are really cute and some are not so cute. So there's quite the array of, how the monkey's going to show up, and that creates a sense of unpredictability, that monkey energy. And so it's to just be cautious of the monkey, kind of play it safe with the monkey. They will love you and they will adore you and they'll want to entertain you and be your friend. but they're not going to be necessarily the buddy that you can call and vent to or cry on their shoulder. That's just that kind of monkey energy. They're very, very smart. Of course, they're very smart. They're very determined, outspoken, and impatient. They just want to get things done, and they are another animal that's very familial. They like the levels of hierarchy that come within that family dynamic. That there's the elder, and then there's this mothering energy that takes care of the young, and so everybody has kind of their place in the world. Pretty dang healthy, the monkey. Nothing's really coming up that I think is a major concern. The headaches, perhaps, because of all the metal. The monkey is a metal animal, so the headaches and kind of that over and over and over kind of thought, and that metal has a tendency to keep them guarded and protected, or at least keep distance between them and the rest of the world. So that, to me, that would be the biggest struggle, is just kind of that metal energy, too much overthinking and analyzing stuff. So the next metal animal is the rooster, and that's the year we're in right now. The rooster is the militant, right? And that's good metal energy. There's one rooster in the hen house. He's calling all the shots. You throw another rooster in there, you're going to have problems. The rooster, his main thing is he wants to be heard. In fact, the throat chakra sits in the west with the rooster. And, first thing in the morning, he's crowing and wants to be heard. It's time to get up. We got things to do. He's kind of the boss. He's a leader. He's very, very intellectual. Not a touchy-feely animal, the rooster. There's people out there that love their chickens and stuff like that, but it's not like a cuddly animal that you'd want sitting on your lap all the time. They are very outspoken and impatient, very self-assured, almost to, that's cocky like a rooster. There's this sense of self-assuredness or confidence that comes across, but sometimes it can come across as conceited. Now here's the challenge that I see with the rooster. The rooster, interesting enough, is the only bird on the Chinese zodiac wheel, and he can't even fly. Right? We're not talking about an eagle or a hawk or anything like that can soar above things and get a different perspective. This rooster's really confined. He really is a grounded animal. You can, kind of leap from here to there, or float off of the top of a hen house or whatever, but he's pretty grounded. And so that's going to give him very little perception. He's not going to have the chance to, fly over to the farm that's, 20 acres down the road and to see how they're running things. Right? So I'm using analogies and how you would run a business. They kind of get stuck in their box. This is the way I do things, and this is the way it's going to be done, without any intake from the outer world, without saying, maybe I should check on, this other company, or do some networking and find out what other leader struggles are out there, or what successes they're able to create for themselves. So they kind of get in this zone, and it's just, they're stuck there because they're not flying and getting those other perspectives. So to me, that's the biggest challenge for those guys. The rooster's a bit tough. We're seeing it on the news right now with, the presidency, people on the streets, everybody wanting their voices to be heard, and it's just that pecking. It's trying to belittle the little guy, or to stomp out the little guy, or destroy each other. And that's really what's happening, is we're just going in for the fight, and somebody's not going to make it, and it's really unfortunate that it's usually the one that, like the squeaky wheel gets the oil. It's going to get the attention, and that's unfortunate that we're in that kind of energy. But we're not in a rooster year all the time. It's every 12 years. So we're here for a reason. We're here so we can finally say some things and get some things out. And sometimes it's within your own family. It just needs to happen. And that's fine. I think for the rooster, it's stress as far as the health goes. Again, overthinking things, being over analytical, worrying about stuff is just a little too much. Now, the next animal is another earth animal, and it's the dog. The dog is the worrier of the group. He kind of, or the pessimist. He kind of prepares for the worst. He's that kind of animal. Because if you think of a dog, any dog that you've run into, there's a sense of anxiety. If you've had a dog there, oh, you're leaving? Where are you going? When are you going to come back? Are you coming back? What are you doing? You stand up, they stand up, and they're following you around the house. They're antsy, and they're this anxiety about them because they're meant to serve. They're man's best friend. They're the most loyal of all the animals, the most honest. Rooster's very honest, and they don't like lying. But the dog is more about justice. He wants everything to be fair. In fact, the dog is October, which is mainly Libra. So it's those scales. It's the balance of that energy. So with that worrying, of course, that makes a tough go of it. But as far as health goes, a happy dog is a healthy dog. When the dog is wagging his tail, he's happy, and that means he's probably pretty healthy. Now, the thing I've observed over the years is that the dog is really in tune with their caretaker. They're very, because they're wanting to be of service, they're loyal to their family, their pack, whether it's a human pack or a wolf pack or a dog pack, that they take on the issues of the family. Now, we've all probably been to a house where you walk in and the dog is overweight, or it's sickly, or it's crippled. That's a sign of what's going on in the home. You can probably guess that there's, people that their eating is out of balance, their health is not the best, and those pets that we have, the dogs and the cats, they'll come in and they'll take that energy on. It's their way of being of service to us. It's not to feel bad for the dog, but it's to be in gratitude for the dog, but use the dog as a mirror to reflect back and go, oh, I'm way out of balance here. I'm just not seeing things clearly. So don't hesitate either to use your client's pet to kind of help guide the conversation in what kind of questions you should be asking them in conjunction with what you're seeing in the space. The dog is all about service. He's about protection, loyalty, and similar to that monkey energy, there's a huge range of dog behavior or personalities or types, right? You have, the prissy little lap dog that you dress up and you pamper it and it sits in a nice little tote. You have the work dog that just runs for miles and can never have enough. And then you have the lazy old hound that wants to sit on the porch and just bark. So you have all these variations of dogs. And you can see why that's come about. And it is because of us. It's because of us, of the breeding and the inbreeding and trying to get the right, combination and trying to get the perfect dog that's the munchkin or whatever it is. We're trying so hard. And we've so humanized these animals to the point where we dress them. There's images on social media of how, oh, here's people who look like their pets. We feed them table scraps. They sleep in our beds with us. You don't bring a horse in to sleep in the bed with you or but anyway, you see how I'm going? Because we've humanized dogs so much, they're so taking on what we've created. And so when you meet somebody who has that dog energy, they're doing the same thing. They're just trying to conform. They're just trying to fit in. It's like, how do I belong in this family? How do I sit with this? Where's my place in it? Am I at the higher end of it? Am I the middle end of it? Am I the dog that gets kicked, when somebody comes home from work? Or am I the dog that gets pampered and well treated and I get a balanced diet and good exercise and a big yard to play in? So there's all those variables to look in. But stress and anxiety are the big, big, big ones as far as health goes, and even mind. So the last animal on the zodiac is the pig. He's the finisher. So we have rat's the starter, rat and ox, right? They're good leaders. And then you come around to the dog and the pig, who are at the tail end of that zodiac wheel, and they're the finishers. What a great combination to have on a team. If only we could have like college professors put groups together like that on team projects. Okay, who's the rat people? Who's the pig people? At least get one of each of those on a team so the project gets started and it's going to get finished. And then you can fill in between. This information is just so interesting to have. So the pig is the finisher. He's about family and home and luxury and comfort. They want their home to feel luxurious, in a safe place, in a comfortable place. They can, come home, plop down, settle in for the night. We're good. Not overly ambitious to get up and get going. This is just, I want the finer things in life. I always think of Miss Piggy. Miss Piggy always had the feather boa and the tiara and all the rings and the pearls and the gloves, and she's just very flamboyant and very big about her stuff. And how that can show through in your client is it can show through in that trait of overindulgence. The pig wants to overindulge, whether it's eating, self-medicating with drugs or alcohol. It can even go the other way to over-exercising, not eating enough. It's an extreme type of animal. It's going to go from one extreme to the other. And that animal, when I see an animal, a pig in somebody's chart, specifically the first 3 pillars, I'll always ask about addiction. I'll always ask because it's there. Whether it's in the family pillar and that's the way they were raised, or whether there's a pig in their emotion pillar and they can't cope, they weren't taught coping skills, I'm going to ask them about how are you doing that? How are you coping then? Well, most likely they're over shopping, right? They're addicted to porn, or they're, internet shopping all the time. If it's in their health pillar, same thing. It's like eating, it's overindulging in that kind of stuff. So you really want to watch for that kind of stuff. The pig is charming to the end, right? They're willing to do anything for anybody. They want to be everybody's friend. And they do have a sense of gullibility about them, which they have to be really careful. They're not really in tune and sensitive to pick up that, oh, this person's going to take advantage of me. No, they just keep doing it. And then when things fall apart and then there's a realization that, oh, something's off here, they don't take any responsibility in that. It's the other person's fault. So a pig is going to be the last person they blame is themselves. The last person to take any responsibility for how anything plays out is going to be themselves, because they're just that kind of filter that they look through. They only see what that person didn't do, what they didn't do, or what they did do, and how they didn't show up. So that can be a little bit tough about that pig. Great, very, very smart animal, very smart. And it's interesting because as smart as they are, you would think that they would have that knowing that, someone's here to screw you, or, take this from you or manipulate you. But it's just that part of them that just wants to be there and help people and love and just share the joy. And so they just don't have that intuitive sensibility about them like the snake. The snake knows immediately who's there to manipulate them and use them. The pig, not so much at all. So there's the 12 animals in the zodiac wheel. We're going to go over them some more, but that's just a good foundation. So hopefully you've been taking notes on the PDF page printouts that I've been giving you. And meanwhile, keep an eye open for animals. Go visit the zoo. Turn on, some nature channels and watch the behavior of animals. You can learn a lot by that. Just a couple animals even, you can really, really learn a lot about people. And then as we start going into these Chinese astrology charts, you're going to start seeing, like, when you pull a chart for your husband or for your wife or for your children or your parents or your friends, you're going to start going, oh my gosh, she's a pig. I can totally see it. oh wow, that guy is an ox. Yeah, I can totally see that he's an ox because he behaves this way, or he's just, he's so forceful, the way he talks, and he's very stoic and he's big presence, the way he steps into the room. So you're going to start having those dots connected between what you know about the animals or seen about the animals or what I've taught you about the animals or what you go and research is and to be able to pair that up with the people that you know, that you already know. And it's a lot of fun when we start pulling charts on people that are on TV, that are in the spotlight. We can go, oh my gosh, of course that's who he is. And so that's a lot of fun, and it's good practice. It's good practice to do chart. Do as many free charts as you can that first year of your training. It's really good practice. And like I said, pull people that you don't even know, that you're not going to read their chart, but you can at least pull the information and know it. So hopefully this is a good foundation. We're going to get in more to, where the animal's at, what stars or what energies are influencing the animal every year, and really how we can help these different parts of these people out by understanding them at a deeper level. So now we as just a recap, we've got, the understanding that everything is energy. We have the yin and yang parts of energy. Everything has a high and a low frequency to it. And then we have the 5 elements, and you've heard me talk about the elements here. Each animal has elements that sit and make up its characteristics. And then we have these animals. That's all the information that you see in the Chinese astrology chart. And then when we take that chart and then we look at the floor plan of somebody's space, then we can say, aha, this is why you're struggling, because you have a horse and it's sitting in the south, and the south is where, an evil star is, or the south is where your garbage cans are, or that room that you're not getting to that's totally being neglected. So that's how we're going to start layering all this different information. And it really gets to be fun because it's not just cut and dry. It's like, oh my gosh, I see this, and oh, that's right, and I'm looking at the compass, and there's this too. It gets really fun and exciting, and your clients are just looking at you like, this is so cool. I had no idea Feng Shui was this involved, that it was so complex. And our job is to take these complexities, well, my job is right now, is to take these complexities and make them practical. Make them feel like, oh yeah, I get that part. I'm not expecting you to get it all, of course, right away. There's parts that I still don't get, or, that, I haven't had the experience yet where it's kind of given me that lesson yet. So our job is to make it practical and feel true, and to feel authentic for the clients, so that there's that trust and their willingness then to make the changes, to help make the shifts in their space, their home, their business, whatever, their relationships, to really make things work for them. That's our goal. Okay, I think this is it for videos. Who knows, I might come up with another one, and I think I have another homework project for you. So drop a comment if you have any comments. If you're not taking my class, feel free to leave a comment below. And you'll be hearing from me, and I really look forward to seeing you in class. And by the way, I'm a horse. I was born the year of the horse. And we're going to look at everybody's charts in class. That'll be a good way for us to kind of get to know each other and then get some experience in, depending on how many people are in the class. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you, and have a wonderful day. Bye.